Welcome to the High School Huddle. I'm Ryan Aber, joined by fellow Oklahoman sports writer Brandon Chatmon. First off, Brandon, it's a big week for high school sports in the state. Edmond Memorial's Samantha Woodward already holds 5 state swimming records in the 200 individual medley, the 50 freestyle, the 100 butterfly, the 100 freestyle, and the 100 backstroke. This weekend, she'll have a chance to break even more records, including some of the ones she already owns. Brandon, is Samantha Woodward the most dominant high school athlete we've seen for a while in this state?
I'd say definitely. So Samantha Woodward, since her freshman year, she's been dominant. I mean, since her freshman year, I remember covering state at that time, and people just knew she was going to win. Very few people kind of felt like they had a chance to beat her. They pretty much wrote off the event she was in because they knew at the end of the day she was going to win unless she beat herself.
And that's sort of the same thing this year. You got to sort of feel for some of these swimmers coming up. A lot of really good swimmers in the state, but nobody even gets close to Samantha Woodward.
Yeah, you can be a great swimmer in this state, somebody who people would be talking about all the time, but if you just happen to be in her class, I mean, you're out of luck, especially if you're running in her events.
And Samantha Woodward is someone who's not only dominated in this state, but she's also on a bigger stage. She has a chance to advance to the Olympics this summer when she swims in the U.S. Olympic swimming trials in Omaha. I believe that's late June, early July, with a chance to go to Beijing. So we'll be looking out for Samantha for a long time. It's also a big time for basketball around here, with the playoffs starting last weekend in Class A and B, and the big schools starting in the next couple weeks. Tuesday night, Brandon, you had a chance to check out one of the best teams in Class 6A in Midwest City. The Bombers are led by point guard Gerard McDaniel. How come he's not getting looks from bigger schools?
I think quite simply it comes down to his size. He's about 5'8", but he runs a team better than anybody I've really seen at the high school level. I mean, since his sophomore year, he's been a starter for Midwest City. Midwest City's been one of the best teams in the state since that time, and he's a Division I athlete, and me personally, I think he could play in the Big 12, so I think people are going to look back at him and say, hey, how did we miss on this guy?
We've got a lot of good guards in the state. Obviously, Keaton Page and Rodney Clark get a lot of the attention. How would you stack those guys up against McDaniel?
I'd say he's right there with them, to be honest with you. I think when you look at the whole game and what he brings to the table, I think he's the best defensive guard in the state. I think he knows how to run a team better than a lot of people, and I think, quite frankly, he could play at that level. I think he could play in the SEC. I think he could play in the Big 12. I think people are just looking at his size and not giving him the looks that he deserves.
And speaking of Rodney and Keaton, Maud's Ty Harmon currently holds the all-time scoring record in the state with 3,639 points. By the time this season's over, Harmon could be in third place. Heading into the playoffs, Verdigris' Clark is less than 200 points behind Harmon, while Pawnee's Page is less than 250. Brandon, is it a foregone conclusion that this record falls?
Yeah, I think it pretty much is. Save that somebody's walking outside one day and steps on the curb and, there goes the ankle. Other than that, I think those two guys, they've been putting up big numbers all year. I see no reason for that to change come playoffs in state.
And with them, it seems like they're almost making a push right now for the record. The scoring averages have gone up for both of those guys recently. Clark goes off for 65 the other night in a game against Berry Hill. Keaton's turned in a lot of really big games, a lot of 50 points or better or right around there. It just seems to be an amazing run, and looks like they have a chance to not only break the record but break it pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think, quite frankly, those guys, when playoff time comes around, they take their game to a next level. So I wouldn't be surprised to see those guys' numbers increase a little bit, because when they play against the competition in 2A and 3A, I mean, quite frankly, there's nobody who can stop them. And they've already shown, even playing against 6A teams, people can't stop them. I mean, Keaton's put up big numbers against Jinx, and Rodney's put up big numbers against everybody.
Thanks for joining us on the High School Huddle. Check out News OK next week for another edition as the basketball playoffs heat up.